So I've been a social worker now, master's level social worker for 15 and a half years. Mediated a lot of conflict throughout my career. Some of the major areas of conflict resolution or conflict mediation I've worked in are conflicts between people in a long-term relationship or marriage. So I did a lot of couples work and a lot of marriage counseling. And often I was dealing with couples where one partner had had an affair or one partner was struggling with something like, pornography addiction. And so often these counseling sessions were very high stress, just really stressful. And so being able to kind of mediate and give each individual a safe place to talk became really important. The other times I've mediated are conflicts during family therapy sessions, just because families tend to get a little intense at moments. And one thing that I found is the more people you have in a room, the harder it gets to mediate. So having two people in a room, there's that challenge of making sure each person feels heard. But when you get into a family session and maybe you have a mom, a stepdad, one or two children in the room, or a grandparent, right? The more people you get in the room, the more complicated it gets, which is why a lot of therapists don't always love doing family counseling. Some other examples that I've seen are moments when I've been out on a removal of a child or an investigation when I was working in child welfare and just negotiating all of the different needs. So I would often have a law enforcement, sometimes 2 or 3 police with me. And then I've got, maybe dad's there and stepmom, or there's a conflict between 2 parents due to a custody issue. And then I'm also trying to help them negotiate and speak and be heard while making sure that the kids feel safe and they're protected as well. So very high stress, often in the middle of the night. Sometimes the parent has been drinking. And so really helping mediate that situation so everyone has what they need by the end of it. Even if we're removing children, parents are clear and understand why and what papers they're signing. So a lot of mediation. And law enforcement often has a different perspective than a child welfare worker or a social worker. And so mediating between what they say should happen, what the parents want to happen, and what you think should happen can really take a lot of skill in a very high stakes situation. Really, I've done a lot of mediating between others, but also mediating between me and a person in authority. It could be a doctor at a hospital, it could be a judge, it could be a lawyer, but really negotiating what my role is and how we can come to a common kind of resolution that everyone is happy with. I think there's a couple of things. One, as a social worker, obviously, we're always trying to be aware of our own body language. And so if we are feeling overconfident, underconfident, if our body language shows that we're in kind of this like high tension mood, it can be really distracting. And so just being really calm, engaged, but still maintaining that calm demeanor, I find to be really helpful. I also found that starting out the conversation with very clearly defined parameters made a huge difference for me. So one example is I did a lot of work with couples where one person had had an affair. And so the couple was trying to figure out, do we save the marriage? How do we do this? What I would do is before we even started, I would set a lot of clear kind of parameters. I might say, my understanding is you're here because, one person has had an affair and we're trying to figure out kind of what to do next. And I would say these are very stressful situations. They're very tense. I'm sure both of you have a lot of feelings and emotions right now. And so I really want to make sure as we proceed and we talk together and we work together that we have some clear understandings of boundaries and what safety looks like. And so then I might say, I know that it's easy to get frustrated with each other, but we're not going to do any name calling because a lot of times that can derail things. I might talk about hey, I know it's tense, but I really don't want you all yelling at each other, in part because it's not safe for you both, but also in part because I share a wall with other kids who are doing therapy, and that can be very distressing for them. And so I really want us to be able to talk about this in a way that's calm, that you're able to express your feelings and emotions without it escalating to the point where either you feel unsafe or even other people in the clinic here and might feel uncomfortable as well. I would really do these clear parameters. The other thing I might do is say, I want everyone to take a moment to define a goal. And I was very clear. I'd say, look, you both have strong opinions. You both want to be heard. And I know it's easy to kind of interrupt the other person. I really want to make sure that both of you have a space to be heard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Joe, He's going to share what his goal is specifically. And then I'm going to go to Anna, and you, Anna, are going to express your goal specifically. And I would request that neither of you interrupt each other, talk over each other, because it's really important that you both want to be heard. A lot of times with high conflict situations like that, both people do want to be heard, and it's easy to start overriding each other. Again, I would do a similar thing with family counseling. Like, hey, there's a lot of emotions. There's a couple of people in here, and you all have a different perspective of the story. But it's really important with family counseling to make sure that we're just remaining committed to each other, to be respectful, to make sure we're not yelling or criticizing or calling each other names. And I really want to make sure that each person has a chance to talk. I would also give vulnerable clients the right to stop at any point. So for example, I had a couple, she was in the hospital, the psych hospital. She alluded that there might be some domestic violence, was willing to meet with her spouse. And I said, let's do a safe word. So if you say it to me, I'm going to know that I need to break up the session, that it is too uncomfortable and you no longer feel safe. And I used to do this all the time with kids too. Hey, we're about to go into a family counseling session. I know we can get heated. You've mentioned that things are really stressful. I'm going to give you a safe word like, oh, I think I need to go to the bathroom. And as soon as you say that phrase, I'm going to interrupt the session and be like, hey, it's important for everyone to have their needs met in all physical areas. We're going to take a bathroom break. So I used to do kind of a safety word if I knew that I was going into a mediation session where one person had an extreme power differential, either a child or a partner who's in a really scary, unhealthy relationship. I might give them that power. Is just calling it for what it is and saying, hey, all, this is getting a lot. Everyone is clearly upset right now. And I would like us to take a few minutes just to center ourselves. I need us to get focused, take a deep breath, everyone, and then we'll start again. And I'm going to call on one at a time. And so sometimes that can feel very patronizing and it can be hard. But I think if at the beginning of the session, you phrased it as, I really want to hear everyone deserves the opportunity to share and talk. And I'm here so that you can communicate with each other and really speak in a place that's safe. Then when I stop people halfway through to say, whoa, okay, they're a little heated here. I know there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of emotion. I'm going to take a moment. I want everyone to take a couple of deep breaths. Someone needs to step out and walk around the building a minute or two. I'm okay with that. Let's make sure everybody feels calm so that we can keep going and finish this. Taking a pause, taking a deep breath. Using silence to let everyone just to take a minute. Okay, I want everyone to regroup a little bit. I'm going to give you all a few minutes. I want you to take a minute or so, maybe 2 or 3, to do some deep breathing. And then I want you to come up with, what do you want to get by the end of this session? Or what do you need to share? One thing that you really want to share and be heard from the other person. Depending on how open the family was too, to help them practice like listening skills. I've had things where I've role played reflection statement where I've worked with the individual and said, hey, one of the challenges here is when your partner starts talking, they perceive that you're not listening. And maybe you are listening, but you're not responding in a way that makes it clear. So one way to do that is through active listening skills. And one way to do that is reflection statements or something. So I would literally do like a mini motivational interviewing training to have clients be able to prepare and share. The other intervention that I think is really helpful is having people write down what they want to say before. So if I had a kid that I'm working with and they're like, I want to tell my family this, but every time I start to get it out, they start fighting. Your son really wants to speak his piece. Your daughter really wants to speak her piece. So because of that, they wrote a letter and they are going to read it to you. And I need you to just listen. There's different roles at different times, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to share your thoughts and feelings, but I need you to give this child, he or she or they, whatever time to be able to listen. And I found that was really helpful because kids could formulate their feelings in a way that felt very comfortable. I might even have them practice the script with me. And then when we got to the family counseling session, they were very clear about what they wanted to say and had that opportunity without stumbling or fumbling or letting fear and anxiety take over. Having those clear boundaries. And I think for me, I found that just being kind and smiling and just saying, hey, I'm going to call it for what it is, but I'm not like you're getting tense, right? I'm just like, hey, everyone, just letting you know. And that's really worked pretty effectively. And so I was able to do a lot of resolution, lots of conflict resolution between, parents who were divorced but needed to work together for a common goal, kids who were reunified with parents and the conflict of this kid who maybe hasn't been with dad in 5 years, trying trying to build that relationship again, just giving everyone the space. At the state, they often say one of their tenets or principles is that everyone wants to feel heard. And what happens is I find that a lot of our clients don't feel heard, so they escalate. And so if we can help the other party model active listening so that they feel heard, or even I as the mediator can say, okay, so what I'm hearing is this, spouse or family member, is that what you are hearing as well, right? It allows us to just keep going and having everyone feel heard. So good luck. I hope this helps.